guys, this is Tessa from HandleTheHeat.com, and today we're making challah bread. Now I know challah bread can be a little bit intimidating. It's such a gorgeous bread and it looks really complicated, but I'm going to show you how to make it at home, and it's actually pretty easy. So if you'd like to learn how to make challah bread from scratch, then keep watching. Okay, so let's get started. I'm going to measure out about 3 cups of flour. I might need to add up to a 1/4 cup more later on when I'm kneading the dough, and this is just regular all-purpose flour. This challah bread dough is much easier than some recipes. It does not require a special starter or sponge or anything like that. It's pretty basic and easy. So I just add some sugar, instant yeast. Now I'm going to add some salt, and these are just all my dry ingredients. And because we're using instant yeast, this bread recipe won't have to rise all day long. It still takes quite a bit of time, so it's best to make challah bread on a weekend or a holiday or some day that you have off when you're not too busy. So I'm just going to whisk this all together and make sure it's all combined. And now I'm going to get my KitchenAid mixer and I'm going to get started with the wet ingredients. So I have 2 eggs and 1 egg yolk. And to that I'm going to add melted butter. And if you were worried about keeping a kosher table, you could always use oil instead. Then I'm going to add room temperature water. You don't want it to be too hot, otherwise it might kill the yeast. And since we're using instant yeast, it really doesn't need to proof. I'm going to mix that together, and I'm going to gradually add my dry ingredients. Okay, so for the sake of time, I've sped up the kneading of the dough, and this is about 5 minutes after mixing and kneading all the ingredients together. And I'm just testing to make sure the gluten has developed and the dough came together in a nice, smooth, supple ball. Challah bread is a rich yeast dough because it has butter, eggs, and sugar added. So it may take longer for the gluten to develop than, say, a dough recipe for baguette. So I'm going to roll up my dough into a nice even ball and place it in a lightly oiled bowl. And then I'm going to let it rise for about 1.5 hours to 2 hours. A little bit less for me since I live in Arizona. My kitchen's usually pretty warm. Then, and this was not pictured in this video, I forgot to film it, and after it's risen, I'm going to actually press down on the dough to deflate it, cover it, let it rise again until it's doubled again, another about 40 to 60 minutes. Okay, so now my dough has risen twice, and this is what it looks like. So I'm going to lightly flour my work surface before I get started because I don't want the dough to stick anywhere. That's really important. And I'm kind of dump my dough onto my work surface, and you'll see when I dump it down it kind of deflates a little, and that's fine. You just got to be a little gentle. So I'm going to divide my dough into 2 pieces, one roughly half the size of the other. I'm going to use my scale to make sure that they're even. If you don't have a scale, don't worry about it. It doesn't have to be that precise. I'm going to divide my first larger piece of dough into 3 sections and roll it out into a big rope about 16 inches long. I'm just using my fingers and my palms to kind of roll out the dough and spread it out to make it that 16-inch length. Okay, I'm going to do my last piece of dough. And then I'm going to braid it. And this technique for braiding is a lot easier than some other techniques. Instead of doing a 6 or more piece braid where it's really complicated, and I don't know about you, personally I can barely braid my own hair, so I need something super easy. So I'll show you this technique for braiding produces a really gorgeous loaf, and it's really not that hard at all. So I've just pinched together the 3 pieces of dough, and I'm just going to do a simple basic braid. I'm going to be careful not to tug on the dough too much so it doesn't get some of those stretchy lines. When I get to the end, I'm going to pinch the ends together too. And you don't have to worry about this being super perfect because the dough is going to rise again once it's finished being braided, and it'll kind of puff up and any errors or imperfections will kind of go away. I'm going to repeat the same exact steps with my second piece of dough. And divide it into 3 portions and roll them out into 16-inch ropes. I'm going to make sure that the dough's not sticking and that it's about 16 inches long. Challah bread may seem like a lot of work, but every step is really simple and easy. It's not hard to follow at all, and it is such a delicious and impressive bread. If you throw a loaf of this on your dinner table, your friends and family will be super impressed. And really, it just takes a little bit of time and patience. And challah bread, day-old challah bread makes the best French toast ever. If you've never tried French toast made with challah bread, you have to try it. It's so good. So again, I'm just going to repeat the same exact process. I'm going to fold together those 3 ends and braid them, and then fold together the remaining end. And I'm actually going to set that aside in a moment because I have to top my big piece of dough, my big piece of braid with my little piece of braid. Before I do that, I have to brush it with egg wash so it'll stick together and it won't slide off or anything like that. So I'm just taking the remaining egg white from earlier in the recipe when I used the yolk. And egg white works just fine, works just as well as a regular egg wash. So I just brush the bottom piece with egg wash, and I'm going to top it with the smaller piece of braid. And you really don't have to worry about this being perfect. Like I said, it's going to puff up when it rises and kind of get rid of any imperfections. So I'm going to cover it loosely with plastic wrap and let it rise. Okay, so it's been about a half hour, and as you can see, the dough is very puffy. Probably more puffy than it will be in your kitchen at home unless you live in a really warm climate like I do. So I'm just going to brush the top of the dough with the remaining egg wash, and then it's going to go in a 375-degree oven for 30 to 40 minutes, or until it's golden brown and beautiful. Okay, so there you have it. Here is my finished loaf of challah bread. I hope you learned a thing or two about how to make challah bread from scratch at home. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked this video, please subscribe to my channel and make a comment below. Have a great day.